So, my name is Scott Thomas, and why should you listen to me? Why should you care at all? Why am I talking? Well, a couple of those answers are, I was a heavy weapons expert in the Marine Corps, okay? Everything in the U.S. inventory, I was certified on. I finished first in my class. I was getting paid to blow things up, okay? I thought life could not be any better. I did a whole bunch of things, went back to school, got a degree, was teaching high school in Florida, and I hate the bureaucracy, so I ended up going into the Army. I wanted to be an officer in the Marine Corps, but anyway, long story short, I went in the Army as an officer. So I was an infantry officer, then I was an armor officer on tanks. So I got deployed all over the world. So I've been to Iraq, Saudi, Kuwait, yeah, okay. Mogadishu, Bosnia, Herzegovina, Russia, lots and lots of places, okay. And I was selected to become an intelligence and counterintelligence officer. So they said, okay, you're not doing that anymore. You're going to go do this. Okay. So I went to a bunch of schools. I came out of there as a bachelor credentialed federal agent. I was a counterintelligence agent, counter-drug, a whole bunch of things, right? And I did that until I hit 20. I was never home, never saw my family, so that's one of the reasons I got divorced, literally. I saw my wife and kids for 6 hours in 3.5 years. So, and that's only because I had a layover. That's why I got to see them. So when I hit my 20, I retired and then went into the private sector. And along the way, I got a bunch of really good coursework through the Army. I have a master's degree in security management. I was one of the first computer forensics investigators in the world. So I also have physical security, and I have technical as in IT or information system security. I've got both of those. So I was teaching cyber crime and cyber warfare at the National Center for Homeland Defense 15 years ago, okay, before cyber, so when they talk about it in the news, it's old hat. And yes, you do need to worry, okay? Can the Chinese take the grid down? Absolutely. They're constantly looking for vulnerabilities. It's not just the Chinese, it's the Russians. So if you ever want to talk about cybersecurity, we can do that too. So why am I here? He likes his dad. What can I say? Yeah, he loves his mom too. But So, long story short, I worked in industry. I've worked in the defense industry for several contractors, doing a bunch of classified stuff that was pretty cool. It is still pretty cool. And then I also worked in private industry. I was in Vegas for 5 years, working for MGM Resorts International, doing physical and data security to protect all their assets. So then it was time to retire finally. So what's the safest place in the world to live? Maybe not the world, but so I looked around and I have a set of criteria, and excuse me, we bought a piece of property out there in Burrell, okay? And besides one homicide like 12 years ago, nothing bad happens out there. Because nothing happens out there, all right? It's so quiet. My joke is that the next door neighbors, I hear their horse farts, okay? And it's true, I do. It's that quiet, okay? So I moved here because it's safe, but it's not 100%. No place is 100%. So that's why I'm here. And so in this series of classes, and we'll talk about what's coming in the series, we did a class on risks to Cedar City and the area, okay? And so in that class, we specifically talked about hurricanes, not here, but we talked about all the different natural and man-made threats that we should be concerned with. And so that was that. And then so let's talk about so that's, again, my background, some of my stuff. I don't like talking about me, believe it or not. I'm not my favorite topic. My wife is my favorite topic. So bottom line is, been there, done that, got a lot of t-shirts, okay? So far what we have done is we've already done these classes. We're doing home hardening today. And you see an asterisk because we're going to record this class. And so if you got questions, you'll be recorded, but we want to record it and then we'll put it out on the wellprepared.com website so that you can download it. So that's why we need you to sign up so that we have your contact information so we can push you what you need to log in and to see the files. And it's not just that class, by the way. We'll also make all the classes that we've done available. And then in the future, when we do those as well, we'll make these available. So this is the list of classes that we want to do in the next year. All right. Now this is with your input. Okay. So tell us what topics you want, because that's going to drive what classes we do. And if I don't have the expertise, and there's a lot that I don't, we will bring in a subject. Come on in. We will bring in a subject matter expert. All right, so again, this is the class list. It's not exclusive. We can add to it. We can take things off if you're not interested. So your input is valuable to us, okay? All right, so what we're going to talk about today is home hardening. Now, it doesn't matter what your home is, okay? So you can, house, apartment, you can, you could still be in mom's basement, okay? Anybody in here still in mom's basement? Oh, come on, tell the truth. Okay, I know, I'm just kidding, but... And dorms. This is especially important if you're a college student, okay? And then, no matter where you live, you'll get a benefit from watching this class today and participating, I hope. Okay, so we'll make it a lot better if we participate. A couple of key things that we've got to talk about. So, deterrence. Deterrence, that's where we stop somebody from doing something that they want to do. So there's two kinds of deterrence. There's psychological deterrence, where really a stop sign is a psychological deterrent. You stop at the intersection, right? Because you don't want to get a ticket. You don't want to get involved in an accident. But that's a thought process. That's the psychological side. Versus a physical deterrent. A physical deterrent can be a barrier. Okay, so those two things, we want to take both of those, okay, and have a layered defense around our house. So, for example, a perimeter that's both a psychological deterrent and a physical deterrent. So keep that in mind as we go through the class. And yeah, that's Apollo. All right, so this illustration over here, by the way, this is called the world's most secure house. All right, he pushes a button and closes his windows, okay? And yes, it's fireproof. So the principles of security, we're going to talk in depth about design, deter, detect, and detect and delay, and then defeating somebody that gets through the door, through the window, through whatever. All right? We'll talk about the different kinds of threats, whether they're natural threats or man-made threats. And what I mean by that is, I grew up in Florida, had my roof taken off 4 times before I moved out of there, and so natural threats, having a 2x4 or a Volkswagen come through the wall of your house or through a window. So we'll talk about how we can counter a lot of these things. And so speaking of that, if you notice this window over here that's got a bullet hole in it, one of the things that we're going to talk about and demonstrate today is a ballistic film that you can put on a window and stop a bullet, okay? That's what it's for. And so countermeasures. So now that we understand what the threats are, what are we going to do about it? And that's what the countermeasures are. And then when the countermeasures fail, when everything fails, because we're just overwhelmed, then what do? Well, then we bug out. We abandon the property. We go somewhere else in order to save our or our family's lives. Okay, we always be prepared to do that. All right. So from a design perspective, again, we want to put in layers. Okay. So in the Department of Defense and the military, really what we want to do is we have a perimeter that's X difficult to get through. Then the next layer is even harder. And then the next layer is even harder. And this is to give us time to respond, okay, so that we have and then we can get the right resources. And you should think about it in the same way, where layers of an onion, okay? And then so when we get to the deter stage, this is where a criminal looks at your house and says, okay, I'd rather go next door than to try to mess with this person. We're just deterring, we want them to go somewhere else. And we'll talk about ways that we can do that. And then we get into the detect and delay phase. Detecting is knowing that there's an intruder, or knowing that there's a bad event or something bad is going to or is happening. And then delaying that, slowing them down so that I have time to respond. So, one of the big things I count on is my service dog. So he lets me know if I'm going to have a problem, but he also, on a couple different levels. So if I'm going to have a problem, then, he's my alarm so that I can respond appropriately. And then last, when all that prevention fails or is overwhelmed, then we're prepared to defeat that, and in this case, let's just say a home invader. What happens if they get in the house? What do we do? And so we'll talk about that in some detail. If you have a question at any time, please, just ask, all right? What? The snakes?
There's a moat with crocodiles.
Yeah, the moat with the well, that's what's cool. You got crocs on this side, you got a moat, and then you got crocs on that side. Okay, yeah. I just like it.
So they let you have that burl? Can we sell that product?
It's funny that we say this. Okay, is anybody in here ever, Nautilus? You know what Nautilus? All right, fitness equipment. The guy who started that company, okay, he's dead now, but he lived near Ocala, Florida. And literally, he had a moat around his property, fence on the outside, moat with gators in it, fence, so yes, people actually do that. And he's not the only one that has done that, by the way. All right, so don't try to take notes today. A lot of this is just to pique your curiosity so that you'll do some more research, so that you'll make yourself more informed and you can make good choices. So there's an acronym that we use, which is SEPTED, okay? And in law enforcement and in lots of different communities, what we're talking about is crime prevention through environmental design. So what is that? What does that mean? What that means is like when you're building a college campus, we have sight lines. We want to, from this building, I want to be able to see that far. This is where I'm going to put the hedge in to slow people down. And this is those kinds of, it's all the factors that go into designing a space, okay? And you can think about it the same way when you're looking at your own property. Now, when you do this, and we can do this for you too, we can do, if you want, you talk to Mark, and I or somebody else, and it doesn't have to be me, by the way. The sheriff's department and the police department are happy. All you have to do is call them. They will come to your home or your business and give you free an assessment to look at your place, make recommendations. Now, what you do with those recommendations, that's up to you. But we can come and give you an assessment. All right. If I give you the assessment, we do it through it verbally. Then I would give you a hard copy, a written report of this is a vulnerability and this is what I recommend. So we can help you with that too. So risk factors. All right. I used to cheat when I was a college professor. On 1 out of every 10 questions, the answer always is male teens. Okay, because male teenagers are responsible for over 80% of crime. Okay. Yeah, male teenagers. I know. I was one once. My mother, she's got an expression which is, there's nothing wrong with them except they have testosterone poisoning. So, testosterone poisoning. And I think she's got a point. But so male teens, far and away. So we need to think about how we can mitigate threats, and male teens just being the most significant. And when you do that assessment, you need to think about it from an intruder's perspective. So as the thief looks at your house, how would he get in? What does he want to take? Why is he there at all? Okay, he shouldn't even be there. Okay, so surveillance, if a thief is looking at your property, would you know what surveillance looks like? How easily can that thief, or that burglar, how easily can he get in, and how easily can he get out? And then last, territoriality is part of. It's one of the terms that we use in SEPTED, and it really means does anyone care? Does anyone own this property? And I don't mean own it on a piece of paper, but it goes back to a broken window. So it starts with a broken window, nobody fixes it. And then there's graffiti. And then that building becomes, somebody moves in, it becomes a crack house. Okay? So territoriality, that's, you want to make sure that you want your property to look like there's a presence there all the time. Defense in depth is, again, key. Okay, not just one layers, but several layers. All right. So design, we're going to continue on with this for a little bit. So out in Southern California, if you do the math, and we'll talk about some of the apps that you can use for this too when we get to that. But for example, if you live within a mile of a freeway, you've got a higher crime rate than if you don't. Okay, because they want to break in, take it, get in the car, and go, and then right into traffic, and they're not moving. But that is one of the things to consider. So that burglar, what is his route like? If he breaks into your house, is there a tree line behind your house that he can escape into, or a mobile home park, or whatever? Okay, those are things to consider. Your lighting should be outward pointing. What I mean is it's on the house pointed out. Okay, and why? Because you don't want it on the outside pointed at your house, because now you're lighting the house up and then they can look into your house. Okay, and if you have it bright enough, and I've got I have a neighbor friend that's told another neighbor, you got to turn down your lights, they keep me up at night. Okay, that's how bright she keeps it. But I think it's great, and he's just whiny. But outward facing lights. And then control permeability. What that means is there are certain places we're going to have gates, and certain places we'll have walls or fences. And we want to channel traffic. Fences, bars, and then bulletproof windows. Again, we have a vendor here that retails this locally. Okay, the film that goes on this window that's rated to stop a bullet.
Scott, does that have to be professionally installed, or could that be homeowner installed?
Homeowner can install it. That's a good question, Jerry. Yes, but installation is critical to getting the effect out of it, right? And if it was me, and the reason I'm putting it in is to save my life, I would have somebody who knows what they're doing put it in. But yes, a homeowner can install it. So we can install it for you, or a recommended installer, or you can install it yourself, okay?
Would this be a good time to have
Right. Right. Okay. And so another thing too, from a deterrence perspective, is I don't think you can have too many of these, is the motion detecting lights. Okay, so if somebody walks up, the light goes on, and for me it's really handy. Out in Burl, I'm telling you, on a dark night when there's no moon, it's dark. Okay, and and when the moon's up, you can. You're such a baby. You're really gonna upset me today. Shh. All right, so, but when I come home at night and I come walking up to my door, the light comes on. So when I'm putting the key in the knob, I think it's helpful. So again, it's just another layer.
And we do have a special offer today on some solar motion lights for only $12.
So again, I keep talking about the defense in depth, right? So we talked about the windows, we're talking about the lighting, fencing. I've got a perimeter fence, then I've got an inner fence, then I got him, I got his girlfriend. All right, so staying on deterrence. There's lots of ways we can deter, right? We can put signs up that say, I have an alarm system, warning attack dog on premises. All kinds of different things that we can do. And this is, Anybody know who this is? Besides Michael, you don't get to cheat? All right, you don't get to cheat either. Who else? Who knows who that is? Yeah. Paris Hilton. That's Paris Hilton.
Oh, doing her community service.
Doing her community service in Las Vegas. She's got to paint over some graffiti, okay? So it's part of the broken window concept, right? Where, you know, first there's a broken window, then there's the graffiti, and then all right? So take care of your property. It needs to look occupied. Mow your grass. Don't leave a trash can out in front of your house for days at a time. Don't let newspapers and flyers accumulate on your front porch. All those things. Surprise. You don't want to be surprised by a burglar. Okay? Ideally, we surprise them. All right? That's his job. Okay? His coloring is, there's a reason he looks like that. At night, when he comes flying at you in the dark, you don't know he's coming. Okay? That's a big surprise. So you want to surprise, because it's a natural instinct. If you surprise somebody, they're probably going to go the other way. Okay? So if that's your lighting or something else that you might have. And we'll talk about some of those other things in a minute. And then deception. Never tell the truth. Okay? In the intelligence community, you know, we know that, for North Korea, whatever they say, believe the opposite. They never tell the truth. Okay? The Russians, same thing. They don't tell the truth. Okay, so
you live in Parowan.
So okay, I trust you guys. Okay, I do live in Burrell, but I didn't give you my address.
It's got a big fence, so we're going to be able to tell you.
Well, my place. It's. I got the fence in depth. Yes.
You can pass checkpoint Charlie Alpha and Bravo and Delta.
Yep. Have your ID out, you know. So deception. We want to deceive that person. We don't want him to know what valuables we have in the house. So, for example, you know, I don't know how many times. I'm just going to pick on Vegas. But, you know, where I'm in my neighborhood in Vegas, I'm driving around and they've got the big picture window open, right? The blinds are pulled back. You can look straight in and see all their goodies. Okay. Don't do that. Don't put, you know, so deception. All right. So deterrence. Again.
Is it
yep.
outside?
I'm sorry?
People leave four-wheelers outside.
Right.
They leave all sorts of stuff outside. Plain sight.
That's a great point. Okay, so because we live here, and I moved here because it's safe, but I want to keep it that way, so don't put valuables outside. So speaking of things that are outside, don't leave your sledgehammer out there next to the front door. Don't leave a ladder in your yard that they can climb up into the second-story window. Okay? So secure your valuables. And that's a great point. All right? You don't want them coming to your place. And if they go next door to the neighbors and take his four-wheeler that he's got, and this is, you know, a few years ago, and they did it in Salt Lake recently too, but about 10 years ago in Minnesota, they passed a law, you cannot leave your vehicle idling in your driveway because people were stealing them. No, really? It's Minnesota. You go out, you start the car, you're too lazy to defrost, you know, scrape the snow, so you turn on your defroster, you go back in the house for 20 minutes, and you come back out, and you get in your car, you go to work. But cars were getting stolen, so they end up passing a law. So, and Salt Lake has done the same thing here, you know, in the last year or two. All right, so don't make it easy for them. Valuables, keep them out of sight. All right, a dog of any size is good. And if you're in a position where you can't have a dog, get the electronic dog. Okay, this thing has a motion sensor in it, and it barks, you know, when somebody gets within proximity of it. And they're pretty cheap, okay? Some people say, well, they don't really work. Well, you know, I think they do. And then this down here, having a pair of very big boots on the porch, right? Or the dog bowl. And so, you know, the bigger the boots you can find, go to DI, get the biggest pair of boots you can find and put them on your front porch next to the door. So when and move them around once in a while. So, you know, when the burglar sees those, I'm staying away from that place. Okay? And don't telegraph. Don't put things. I know, you know, if you support the NRA, that's great. But and I think we all should. But don't put the stickers on your house and on your car, because that says, "Come here and lie down." Lie down. I'm going to take you back to your trainer. Okay, I'm kidding. So, okay, what was I saying? Shoot.
NRA sticker.
Yeah, the NRA sticker. Sorry, it was a long night. And so the NRA, don't advertise. The NRA sticker says, I have a gun, okay? It's up to you. I mean, you can have one if you want or not. So
That's the surprise element.
Exactly.
well, I
You
don't,
have a gun.
yeah,
No surprise.
that's right. But are you willing to use that? We're going to talk about the use of lethal force here in a little bit. Okay, so if here in town, if you do not live in a neighborhood where you have neighborhood watch, okay, you could talk to your neighbors, call the sheriff's department, call the city, and you should get a neighborhood watch, okay? And by doing that, they'll come out, they'll put the sign up, but there's a piece for you to do too, okay? So I would suggest that you do that. Now, alarms, there's all different kinds. There's motion detectors, there's glass breaks, and yada, 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 yada. There's, in the military, we have ones that monitor the barometric pressure and the humidity. I mean, it's literally, they're so sensitive, a sheet of paper going under the door will set it off, okay? But, so alarms, I suggest you get one. And there's some really cheap ones out there, anywhere from a cheap unit to as expensive as you want. But the key to an alarm is using it. If you have it, use it. And then most alarm systems, the older types, right, they rely on A, electricity, and B, a phone line. So if a phone line gets cut, if it's a sophisticated burglar and he cuts your phone line and there's a power outage, your alarm system's not going to work unless you have an independent system, which is really what I recommend. And then this is an app that you should have on your phone. Okay, so by signing up for that app and putting a couple things in there, if something happens in your neighborhood, you'll get a ping. And you can customize it. So, for example, if somebody comes over to your house and is burning your next door neighbor's cars in their front yard, whether it's a fire or X, Y, and Z, you can be notified. And then Nextdoor is another one of those. You can go online, go to Nextdoor, and you can track break-ins and crime rates and yada, 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 yada. It's a really good resource.
A lot of these apps and resources are on the back of your checklist there, just so you know you don't have to jot them all down.
Is that based on reporting for last year from the police departments, or what's that based on?
Okay, so that's a good question. So the FBI takes reporting from all agencies, and then they roll it up and massage it, and then they put it out there, and it takes about 2 years to get the numbers where they want them. Oops, did I say that? Okay, yeah. That's okay, to normalize. All right. So, but a lot of these applications, it's pretty close to real time, okay? Some of them, a couple of them are in real time. So as a 911 call goes into dispatch, it gets updated. So it depends on which one you want. Where I live, stop. Where I live, I've got one of these on my driveway too, okay? And so it's what's handy about it is it's a real simple motion detector. If a car goes by, it's going to notify me. So now I'm paying attention. So I get a ding. I get a nice quiet ding. There's fancier versions of this where they can be photographed, yada, yada, yada. All right? And then if you've got a peephole in your door, I like these for a couple of reasons. The old standard peephole, I can always tell when somebody's home because you see the light change behind it when they walk up to the door. Because typically a burglar is going to knock on the door and say, hey, anybody home? Anybody home? And you come to the door and they go, hey, I got some religious literature. Can I mow your yard? Or that's my favorite one is, can I mow your yard? In Vegas, okay, where everybody's got rocks, okay? But, and then you're going to say, no. So they just go to the next place and you don't think anything of it, but they're casing your home. Okay. So, but the peephole, if you stand behind it, you can tell if somebody's home. Yeah, you have a question.
Well, I was just going to say, I have a couple friends, they've installed this. It's like a doorbell.
Yep.
And it's got a motion sensor and video. It'll actually send the video to your phone for the door.
Yes. Yep.
So you can catch that.
Yep.
whoever's there.
And that one's, you know, it's like state of the art, and one of the brand, it's called Ring, and it's really a good system, you know, so that if they ring the doorbell, they get recorded. If they walk up to the door without ringing the doorbell, they're getting recorded, and you can configure it so that anybody visiting your property, it gets sent to your phone in real time. Okay, and that thing's like $200.
And you can actually answer them too. If they ring the doorbell, you can from your phone say, "Hey, what do you want?" And so it's pretty cool.
Even though you're at home.
Even though
Yeah, right. Yeah, so you can be in Costco and you can answer the doorbell saying, and you're never gonna say, "I'm not home, I'll get back to you." You're gonna say, "Just a minute, I'm cleaning my shotgun," or "My hands are oily," or whatever you want to say. But if you're a woman at home alone, never say, like one of the commercials says, "I'm at home bathing the children." No, she should say, "Just 1 second." "What, honey? Okay. We'll be there in a few minutes," and leave it at that. And don't answer the door, because you're not obligated to answer the door. If you come to my place, I know you're coming, and anybody else that comes out there that's not invited, well, we call them pop-up targets. Okay, no, sir, no, I'm kidding. But this one I like because one of the things is you can, with this model, you have standoff. I can be 12 feet away from it, and it's the way the lens is made. There's really no hiding spot on the front porch. You know, you can't ring the doorbell and then go into the corner, and then ring the doorbell and go into the corner. Okay, you can't do that. The way that lens is set up, and from here to the wall, I can see who's out there. And so the benefit is so they can't see me, and if they are psychotic and shoot through the door, you know, I'm further away. Dog doors. Don't have a dog door. Don't. They're easily breached. They make the door weaker, and anybody can go through a dog door. I know it's a pain. I let him in and out, but it's just, don't have a dog door. Long and the short of it. So defeat. So this is when all of our layers have failed. Our deterrence has failed. And they're actually in the house. Now what do? You should develop a home security plan. If you're single, what are you going to do? If you're a family, a member of a family, so for example, we have a duress word that we use that means go take cover right now, okay? And that duress word, my wife knows what it is, I know what it is, and it's also, if she gives me a phone call and says, "Oh, I've got to go by and get a new orange tree," okay? And I know that it doesn't seem like it's in a normal sentence, but I'm trying to do this for demonstration purposes. So orange tree, that's, to me, okay, that's the warning word. It means that she's in trouble and I need to get to her now, okay, wherever she is. So we also have a word which means get you and the kid to the safe room, because she's going to go to the safe room. She's going to get her pistol out. Actually, not get it out, just pick it up. She's going to hold him with one hand, dial 911 with the other hand, and get the kids in the safe room. So we have a plan. And so there's some things that you should have. You know, you need to have communication so you can call and get help. So if you have a cell phone, great. Now there's a company that sells cell phones that are dedicated, as in it just sits there and you don't use it for anything else. You don't get charged either. But when you pick it up, it dials 911, and that's the only thing it's for. So you can have one of those charged, checking it occasionally, but you can have that on your dresser next to your pistol. Okay, so you always have a phone at hand. Michael, did you have okay. A fire extinguisher. Everybody should have a couple of these, right? You got one in the kitchen, and then you got one near the kitchen. Because what's funny is the one you put in the kitchen, invariably, you're going to have a stove fire. You can't get to the fire extinguisher. So, all right, so that's why you need to have a couple. And actually, we have one in every room. A fire blanket. There's actually a product called Fire Blanket. And then, depending on circumstances, let's say there was wildfires and I was concerned about my house. One of the things that I do is I take a wool blanket, put it in the tub full of water. So if all else fails, I throw that wet blanket over the kid, and we get the kid and wife outside. Masks. So Terry is going to talk to you about masks that are good in a chemical environment and in a smoke environment and capabilities, limitations of those, okay? And then one of the things that when I met Mark, one of the things that they have is this ballistic shelter. Okay, this will stop a bullet up to 50 cal. Okay, 50 cal, that's the biggest you're going to see. If somebody's got an RPG shooting at you, then, we got big trouble, right? But yeah, these things are cool. If it was up to me, we'd have one of those in every classroom in America, okay? And then in some public spaces like malls, libraries, any place where they ban firearms, we should have one of those, okay? Can you imagine one of these in a theater, though? Everybody's trying to crowd into it, yeah, but... And then this is another app up here too, Watch Over Me. Especially if you're a young lady or a lady, really a lady at all, and if you're a college student, this is one of those things that you should have. You can configure it so that you have a panic button. You push it. It can call law enforcement, your mom, your dad, your whoever, and it'll broadcast your location too. So that's a real good app. Yes, sir.
We just got Gizmo watches. I don't know if you've seen those.
Yep.
My kids, we got them all for Christmas. It's a GPS locator. They push one button, they call mom, they call dad.
Yep.
They're pretty handy.
Yeah. And those are secure too, by the way. For quite a while there was apps that were not secure that a potential threat could intercept and know where your kid is. Okay, but the gizmos there, it's a secure so that I can't intercept that signal and find out where your kid is. All right, so keep going on defeat. So again, if you live where you have security, like in Las Vegas, security will get there typically faster than the cops, all right? Does anybody know what the average response time in Cedar City is? If you call 911 right now, average response time is 20 minutes. Yep, 20 minutes. And anybody know what it is where I live? Hour and 10 minutes, okay? It's average, okay? All right. And this is not to throw any rocks at law enforcement. They've got, they're out on, okay. This is just their limitations. Do I want them to be there faster? Well, then I can pay more taxes and we can hire more cops. Okay. So you might want to call security and police, all right, because they do different things. And defense, we're going to talk a little bit about defense. Once an intruder is in your house, what are we going to do about it? These things up here, those are my stairs, okay? Those are caltrops. Okay, caltrops were invented, that's what put an end to chivalry. Okay, chivalry is dead, yes, it is. And that's why, you can blame those things right there. Okay, there's a seed pod in Greece that they're shaped like, okay? And the reason they're on the steps is that's how you got to go up those steps to get to the safe room. Okay, so if the house is dark, ow. And when I did that, by the way, it was Fox News in Las Vegas was doing a test. The cameraman stepped on it, and we had to take him to the hospital. Okay, but so this is a bigger version of it, and I'll pass that around.
So how big are those?
Those are about that big. Okay, those are for people. I have a jug of those that I would throw on the stairs as one of the last resorts. These, I would scatter those in the yard. If let's just say that the government collapses today and yada, yada, yada. Okay, I can put those in the yard, in the driveway. Okay, that will wreck your foot, and it will also flatten a tire. And yes, if you need those, if you want caltrops, we have those too, okay? Oh, and let's talk about lethal versus non-lethal.
There's a sample of the pepper spray over there if you want to.
Yeah, well, let's talk, thank you. Let's talk about lethal versus non-lethal. Really, who in here has shot somebody? Anybody? Who shot somebody? Okay, do you like shooting somebody? No, you'd rather not. I mean, I will if I have to, but I would really rather not. So what are the things that I can do to not get there? So he's one. This stuff, that's got a decent range and that has the gel, because it seems to fly through the air better and sticks better, right? Oh yeah, I'm telling you, that this stuff, It's really good stuff. Okay, this and I have bear spray up here as an illustration, but the pepper spray, they're good. And then my shotgun, my 12 gauge, for example, the first 3 rounds in it are rubber buckshot. Okay, I guarantee you, if I hit you in the chest with a load of the double-aught rubber buck, okay, it's gonna hurt. Okay, and my point is not to kill you. If you keep coming after that, you're gonna die. Okay, but that's my choice. Tasers, and then all else fails. Again, I have a pistol stashed. Nobody ever looks there. Right, it's right. If the walk-in closet, there's a door. Above the door, on a hook, is the emergency backup pistol. So you should decide for yourself. Do you want to use non-lethal means, or do you want lethal means, or a mix? We're going to start with the non-lethal, and if that doesn't make the point, then I'm going to shoot them. Okay, because we'll talk about why here in 1 second.
Question over here.
Yes.
Not really a question. It's a certain percentage of the population doesn't it? The pepper spray doesn't work on them, but wasp spray works on everybody.
Yeah, wasp and hornet spray. That's good stuff too. And yeah, if you want to use that, go ahead.
Be very careful on the use of wasp spray. Never say I intended to spray him with wasp spray. You grab it as an absolute last resort. The contents of wasp spray is actually a very low-grade nerve agent. And that's why you get the reaction. It is basically
phosgene
to kill the wasp. If you ever watch wasps die, basically they drop to the ground, they twitch, and they die. That is an organophosphate agent. Because the can of wasp spray says only for use in the basically the intended way, which is to kill wasps. So never say you intended to spray him with wasp spray. That's a huge legal problem. You can spray them with OC pepper spray, that's what it's intended for. But never say, oh, I grabbed this because I keep it here just to spray people with. That's a huge lawsuit. You don't want to do that. Okay. Yes, it will work. You can also have unintended consequences in that the person could die. They can react just like a nerve agent because that's what it is. It is a nerve agent. So be very careful with that.
Another concept is that there is all different levels of concentrations of pepper spray out there, way different. The ones that we carry are the best that we could find that have the 5.3 million SHU.
Scoville heat units.
Yep.
Law enforcement and military use.
Yeah, it's one of those things that's federally regulated. The amount of pepper that can be in there. There's a limit on how much. And you said that there's a certain percent of the population that's immune to it. Well, the folks that are immune to it typically are thugs that have sprayed themselves enough to where they get used to it. Okay, but when you go to the higher level and you use the gel, I don't know anybody that has ever been able to get past the gel. And look, just to give you an example, when I was a commander, one of my drill sergeants, when we would gas the trainees, right, he would stand in the shack without a mask on. Okay, everybody else, me included, you got snot running out. Yeah, okay, but he had gotten used to it. But this stuff is pretty potent. And if you ever want, give yourself a little test and see. You should know. No, and here's why. In the law enforcement community, anything that we use, we test on ourselves. Okay, because what happens if you spray it and the wind's in your face? Okay, or somebody takes your taser away from you. Okay, so but that stuff, I swear by it. My wife carries some on her purse, among a couple other things.